Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
The Rocket Review is pleased to bring an incredible singer-songwriter banjo player for Judah and the Lion. It is Nate Zuercher. Nate, thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, good morning. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, you and I were talking before we started the interview. Congratulations on this new EP that you guys have out, Spirit. And what an incredible way to do something with you and the band to where, you know, you very different versions of the same song.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we love this song. We really believe in what it says, and especially with everything that's happened, you know, recently for us and for everyone else. Just kind of uplifting, hopeful anthem, and we had a lot of really great friends and colleagues that kind of helped us make this remix EP and had different takes on it, and yeah, really proud of what we did. So
you know, it's incredible too, Nate, to where it's like when you listen to the whole EP, and I'm going to spend some more time with it, but like you and I were talking, it's almost like a painting to where somebody's painting an apple, but with different light and in different, and it's a totally different apple. And I felt that way with Spirit, although my personal favorite was the acoustic version that did feature more banjo.
I appreciate that very much. Yeah, more and more banjo. That's my selfish take on it. But yeah, I loved all the different versions, and but yeah, I always appreciate the opportunity to get to even do a different take from the original, which I'd say is still pretty acoustic heavy, to kind of really emphasize and bring out some different aspects of it and play a different riff and kind of a different mindset on it was cool.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the original version that you guys came out with in November with Spirit, you know, starts out acoustic, but then it really builds up, you know, and kind of gets rocking. And it's like, you know, and I can certainly hear your guys' influences, you know, from other bands that you've been out on tour with and everything else, which you've got to admit, with Judah and the Lion, you know, as a founding member in this band, you guys, you know, have just exploded on the scene in the past 3 or 4 years with the great shows you've played and everything else, considering that you guys met and started at Belmont.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I think it's been fun to kind of accept, like, yeah, we have these folk instruments and that's the core of how we began, but all of us grew up playing different genres, and I primarily was an electric guitar player when I got going, and a lot of the music that I still love to listen to is more rock or punk or metal influenced, and but also loving bluegrass and figuring out different ways to kind of incorporate, and for each of us having, you know, those different stories and influences, and kind of, you know, the first 2 records we made, I was very much like, we're a folk band. This is what we do. We will never let electric guitar or synthesizers be a part of this. And took a pretty hard shift when Kids These Days came out, and just kind of, that was hard for me to kind of let go of certain things. But now I think it's really fun to basically just whatever we feel like serves the song right, to feel comfortable, or at least more trusting that that's okay. But then for me, like, I think the only thing that stayed consistent, no matter what, on every song we've done, well, I guess we have vocals that Judah's doing, but there's banjo on every song. And so it's been more of a, how do we fit banjo into this in a way that hopefully feels, you know, I don't want to say natural, but at least interesting and helpful, as opposed to staying like, we have to make folk music, we have to stay in this box. But at the same time, I think Spirit is one of the few songs we put out, particularly recently, that maybe is more of an homage to where we started, and that feels really natural and fun and exciting to kind of be back in that space, at least for this moment in our career.
Well, you know, I think you do an incredible job of keeping the banjo organic within it too, to where it's like, it's not like you're forcing something in there. And I got to bring this up. You know, you come from a musical family, and when you first started going to Belmont, you went to study guitar originally and then shifted into banjo.
Yeah, it's been a funny journey. And, you know, if you were to tell myself 10 years ago when I got to Belmont, like, you're going to be a banjo player and that's going to be your thing, is, you know, I would have laughed and maybe been like, sure. But it's pretty insane to be here now. And I still play guitar a lot, mainly just for fun. But it's been, I almost feel like I'm getting away with something. Like, how did we get here? But I'm embracing it, and I love that challenge. I think the banjo, in a lot of ways, kind of feels more natural to the way that my mind thinks. And it's also a really fun space because a lot of people don't have opinions on what it should sound like, or as opposed to, I feel like with guitar in Nashville in particular, it's like everyone knows exactly what they want, how it should fit, and all that.
Right.
I used to go to sessions playing guitar and be told exactly what to do, which was fine. But now with banjo, it's like, we want banjo. That's all we know.
There's a lot more freedom for you. And I got to bring this up to brag on you some, Nate, to where Spirit has been added into Disney Plus's new movie. Because I know, you especially and the guys as a whole are very much into sports. You guys have played, at NHL games and everything else. And obviously you love soccer. But to be included in the Disney Plus movie, and then also Spirit has been utilized by ESPN. And I think I've heard it more than once or twice on Lightning 100 radio here in Nashville too.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for all some like seemingly random, or again, places that maybe we didn't expect to ever get to be a part of, but now we are. And particularly, I'd say in the sports arena space over the last few years has been maybe a particular musing of different passions that we all have. And, Judah, college athlete, also super into sports, and I know Brian's a big fan of some of that as well. But it's been like, my dad was, he's my biggest fan. But when he saw the Mighty Ducks trailer, he couldn't stop laughing. He was like, I got so annoyed watching Mighty Ducks with you all the time as a kid, and loved how much you cared about it. But it's just so funny now that 20 years later, your song is part of that trailer and the reboot. And I've been watching the show, and it's just it's amazing. I'm so excited to be a part of those different things and kind of breaking down those barriers and supporting friends and folks that work in that industry too. And it's been such a gift. So I'm thankful that we're getting all those opportunities and everyone that's making that happen, and our team that pushes for that. And it's awesome.
Obviously Judah and the Line, you guys are known so much as a live band, and the energy and what you bring to those kind of venues. And you played all of the major, late night shows. You played all of the major festivals. What are you looking at for 2021 and the next year as things start to open up to when you guys can get back on the road?
I don't think anything's really particularly nailed down, but we're definitely starting to have conversations of what it looks like to get back out on the road and do that well for ourselves and for our people and our team. And but yeah, there's some potential festivals that are being discussed, and maybe an opening tour, or whenever it feels like getting back in the headlining space makes sense. But yeah, I think it went from kind of the chaos of what's going to happen with all this to kind of accepting where we're at and starting to think more towards our next record, because we're getting into that time frame. And so I think our goal is sometime relatively early next year to have a new record out that would allow us to go to the headlining space in a way that makes sense, as opposed to kind of holding on to our last record and trying to reboot that tour. I think embracing that, but also moving forward. And then I think any opportunity that makes sense for everybody and is exciting to really hop into that. And I'm thankful to be in sort of a space where we can maybe be a little bit more choosy and what makes the best impact for everyone, rather than, I guess, throwing things together and maybe being a little more exhausted by that process. So definitely excited, trying to figure out what that'll look like and make it as big of a party as possible.
You guys always do. Whenever, it's like, just every time it's just amazing. I think that has certainly, helped build the fan base, incredible fan base that you guys have because of those live performances. But also now, I think you've been very smart, with the partnership, with Disney, which I love that inclusion, and ESPN and everything. I've got to ask you this too, during the pandemic, obviously, I know you're still songwriting and playing all the time. Are there any new banjos in your life that we may see, because usually I bumped into you at the NAMM show at the Deering, banjo booth, sampling all the different wares. Do you have anything new that you're going to be playing in the next year or so?
I've been trying to kind of rein it back a little bit. But for our last tour, I guess summer of 2019, I had a custom model designed for me with Deering that really kind of checked all the boxes of what I wanted. With banjo, especially trying to figure out how to make it sound right in the rock space and to be amplified correctly. It's been a long process of trying different ones out and kind of collecting and shifting things around. But I feel like where we landed on that last tour, I think we really got to a space that I'm proud of, and it sounds right to me and feels great to play. And they're all blacked out, customized and all that. So it feels, I mean, there's definitely a thing or two that I maybe would tinker with, but not really cosmetically or audio wise, just more ease of access, like the mic input jack, making it a little bit more accessible and things like that. I'm really happy with where I'm at, and I'm excited to play those still and hopefully continue to utilize that on the road. But it's always tempting to, you know, there's a couple, I'm sure any musician, it's kind of like, there's certain instruments that you get to play or see, like I would love to have that, but I'm trying to kind of, now that we got into a space I'm really proud of, hold on to that and enjoy it rather than, you know.
That last variant that you worked with, the banjo, kind of like a tricked out Harley version of a banjo, to where it's like, it's not your grandpa's banjo.
Again, I feel like my whole banjo career has been sort of throwing things together or mixing things up in ways that other players might not think of or might not appreciate, but accepting that I can be myself and I can be my own person in that bluegrass or rock space or whatever it is. And but yeah, I think it represents me more so. And I grew up playing guitar as well, and so little things like the fretboard is thicker than really any other banjo I've played, and that was something that we got to do that kind of mused where I started and how to bring that into the banjo space too, and little things like that I'd be hard pressed to find another banjo that feels more right to me, right, as far as especially in the performing and our own artist space. But there's a couple of like, yeah, if I got to, if I could get a Gibson Master Tone or something more similar in that space, I wouldn't say no, but I don't need it, so I'm trying to be okay with what I've got.
Definitely. Well, I want to make sure for our viewers, Nate, that they know where to go, to check out, when you guys are going to have the shows coming out. Obviously, when the new album rolls out, currently with the Spirit EP, with a different, and you had some hit friends join you on doing these remixes. But I love all the different cuts on the Spirit EP. Where should our viewers go to keep up with everything with you and Judah and the Lion? Yeah,
anywhere you get your music, it's available. Amazon, Spotify, Apple, all the places. We're on YouTube. We make kind of lyric cuts of all of that. And but as far as socials, we're all on Instagram, Twitter, all those things. But I guess Instagram is probably where we're most active. But yeah, trying to still stay active and relevant with our people and each other. And but basically anywhere you find your music for whoever, we're also there.
And I have to watch the Mighty Ducks, the new version on Disney Plus, along with your father, to be able to check out the music on there too, right?
Yes, I would. I can't recommend that show highly enough. Maybe I'm just geeking out and living in nostalgia, but I think they've done a really good job. And I think the 4th episode just came out on Friday, and I'm still loving it and going back to being a kid, and anything like that I try and embrace. So really thankful to be part of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Spirit is such a great song in this time. And like I said, I love the different versions that you guys did. They all sound like hits to me. I think you're going to hear a lot more of them coming out on the radio. Add it to your playlist. Nate Zuercher from Judah and the Lion, thank you so much for coming on the Rockin' Review.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And really appreciate it.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.